project I applied to Tada with was not the one that I ended up realizing, and I'm grateful for that in a sense because it gave me the chance to start and explore other new projects. But the Intermezzo opportunity was a chance for me to talk a little bit about what I had planned to do, and it's also perhaps what I'll do next after this concludes. I spoke a little bit about my interest in e-textiles and soft electronics, and feel free to touch these prototypes. They're all woven by hand with conductive threads. I also brought a bunch of my swatches, and there's some on the board here as well. For me, collecting materials and doing trials is just as much a part of the process as the finished thing. And I'm interested in where food and textiles overlap. So I had this idea to make a tablecloth that would be interactive. So this is a quick sketch, kind of gives you a sense of what I'm imagining. So the idea would be that each of the table settings is connected to one another. So let's say Sylvain takes a sip of his wine, lifts the glass, and a switch is turned off in the circuit. Later, yeah. we're getting close. Or Nellie takes the soup from over here and passes it over to Isabel, and a light turns on or turns off. I want to make something, at least to start, that's fun, that's performative, and it's interactive. So the circuit is completed by the dishes, and there's reactions like the ones I've shared as examples in sound, heat, and light. So I have this one prototype, and I just turn this on briefly here. And so you can see I took a conventional diode and a conventional resistor and used a plier to twist the legs so that they could be sewable. So they're kind of like little eyelets, so I could just sew them down. And I used a copper thread, which is solderable. And you can see here that the circuit is running, but when because of the light, but when I lift the bowl, the light goes off. Because in the future, I like to have bowls made of copper. They complete the circuit. So when I pass this over to you, this goes off, and then you can pass it back. So I just have the one prototype, but in theory, we're passing them all around. So we put it back, and the switch comes back on. I've also got here a soft heater. And so the switch is activating that as well. So in theory, my plate could affect the temperature of yours. So anyway, it's really a prototype. It's really an experiment. I did play a little bit at Lobra with creating finishing so that the whole thing could be waterproof, because of course there's eventually going to be liquid, but for now it's not quite there. But you can see I've got some plastic coated, and I've discovered that the LEDs do survive when pressed under the plastic coating, so that's good for now. So these are prototypes, like I mentioned. This is really an exploration, a clue into where I'm headed next. I mentioned briefly that I'm making a cookbook, and so I have a selection of some of the recipes here if you want to take a look, or you can join me at the Volumes Book Fair in Zurich this weekend, where I'll be presenting the book. So if anyone else is interested in food, textiles, and technology, I think you probably all are, if you're here, please let me know. All of these are things that I continue to work on, and everyone is invited to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.